All right, good morning. Welcome to a pretty dreary day here in Pittsburgh. It is both pretty dreary and pretty and dreary. It is a pretty, dreary day as well as a pretty dreary day. Uh, I like this sort of moderate rainfall. It's gray and cloudy out. It's late morning. The sun hasn't really shown itself. It's quite a nice day for I'm looking at Messiaen, which is what we're doing today. We're looking at Messiaen's Technique de langage musicale, and we're looking at chapter 16. And in particular, we are looking at section 4 of chapter 16, and in particular, example 333 of chapter 16. You see, I've also made a note to compare to example 317, and that's because what I want to look at today, talking about the third mode of limited transposition. One of the things that Messiaen has done with each of the modes is create these sequences of chords that are constructed out of the mode, actually of the mode starting on different steps, just laid on top of each other and creating these multi-part harmony stepwise sequences, stepwise progressions. And I thought I would play through the third mode sequence here and the second mode because they are characterful. They maintain the attributes of the mode and they sound different. They're not just clusters. They are there's a sort of an implied voice leading or a structural component that is different. And I thought I would play them. We would listen to them and see if there's sort of some intuitive description that I can come up with that explains the difference or highlights the difference or just experiences the difference. So that's what we'll do. Get this. Fortunately, we're not talking about FM synthesis today. This is the cheat sheet that comes with the Korg Volca FM. It is over there. And I'm digging into the algorithms that are available in that machine, the different combinations of frequency and carrier. And my dog, one of my dogs, chewed it just this morning. Fortunately, I have them all memorized. No, I don't. I don't have them all memorized. I'll have to get another one. So back to Messiaen. Before we go to Messiaen, let me just dig back through the notes here. Just a 90-second review of the difference between a mode and a scale, because I think I use the terms interchangeably, and it's better to be precise. What is a mode? What is a scale? You can see here I'm reading it. Here's how I think of it. A scale is a set of intervals dividing the octave. C major scale. A C major scale divides the octave. The major scale divides the octave into a half, half, whole, half, 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 whole. And regardless of which note you start on, you can create you can create a major scale. Now, if you take a scale, for example, the major scale, and then you start using only the pitches of the scale, start on the different steps of the scale, you create a mode. If I start on D and only use the notes of the C major scale, right? That's where you get the church modes from. If you're having flashbacks to childhood piano lessons or high school theory, that's why. So the mode can be transposed and will change the pitch that's available as you transpose the mode up. But, and this is where Messiaen's modes of limited transposition come in, some modes you can only transpose a few times before you start to get the same pitch sets. So, for example, the major scale, I can transpose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times before I get back to the C major. And in all of those instances, the pitches that are available are completely different. But if you look at the third mode, which sounds like this. By the time you get to the fourth transposition, you have the same pitches again. So I spent a lot of time on that before. I don't want to belabor that, but I want to make clear the difference. Like a scale can have multiple modes. A mode can have limited transposition, and those are the modes that Messiaen is interested in. So let's see, I created a note here. All right, so that took a moment for me to get my stuff together. This is mode 2, and this is mode 3. So let's start with mode 3, which is our new one. I'm just going to play through these notes here. That's very characteristic. That sounds like something from the avant-garde. And then it goes down. So again, first chord. I really like that. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth note, the one that's starting on the A flat. And then again, zip through. Third mode. Play the second mode. What I noticed when we were talking about the second mode before, there's always a held note. The top note always becomes the second note. All right, so the F sharp in the top of the first chord, the first one, becomes the second note, then the G becomes the second note. And that's a very characteristic voice leading in this sequence that isn't as prevalent in the third mode. Okay, if I jump back to the third mode here. Right, because of the attributes of the intervals of the scale, you don't have that sort of continued minor second in the voicing. Instead, you have a much more clear progression. something about that reminds me of Thelonious Monk. Maybe I should look and see why that. There's some way to figure out why. But can you hear the difference? Like here, if I the first two chords of mode 2, and the first 2 chords of mode 3. It's a much, I'm going to use a dumb word here. It's much sexier in mode 2, in mode 3. Mode 2 is just kind of ecstatic, right? Mode 2 is all through the quartet. Mode 3 really is luxurious. Mode 2 again. So look, I hope that it sounds interesting, right? The point about the modes that I'm really coming to appreciate more and more is that they were first and foremost the results of Messiaen's improvisation. And here's what I think happened. I think Messiaen improvised and then realized that the gestures that he came up with fit into this modal structure. Right? He didn't create the modal structure. I think and he didn't improvise the modal structure. I think his fingers hit the keys. And then as he documented what happened when his fingers hit the keys, he realized that for the most part they fit into this modal structure. And then this feedback loop occurred where he became more familiar with the modes. Look, I know that this is an entirely specious argument, and of course he was well versed in the modes before as he started to improvise. And so which came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, I am pretty clear that what came first is what happens on the keyboard. That at least is what happens for me. And then that is supported and sustained by the technique of the modes, and it allows for longer composition and not just specific improvisation, because now you do have a framework that you can absorb and study, practice with, and develop around and use as a skeleton. But I'm fairly convinced that the initial impetus for this is the feeling of the keys and that is the spark, the impetus for using the modes. So then it's an important part of studying the modes. By all means, memorize you have to memorize it all. But these are meditative devices. I'm going to put a link in the notes to an earlier video where I was working on the first of the Vandergaard. I've worked on a few of them. And at the same time was learning, I'm trying to get my hands. There we go. Here's where I went. Right? I was practicing some of the heart mantras of the Bon Buddhist tradition. And the overlay of the mantra and the chords became such a profound unity for me that I tried to construct a mandala based on that. So check the notes. I put a link to that, and maybe I'll see if I can put it, wherever they show up here as well. So there you go. I think that's good for today. More coming up. I keep reading through this. We're getting close to the end, right? Chapter 16, and then chapter 17 is more complicated voice leading and such. And then it's done. I think 17 or 18 chapters total. After that, I think I'm going to dig into some of Messiaen's journalism. I have a collection of the articles that he wrote as reviews of concerts, as well as some program notes for his own music, but often journalism, for a paycheck. So I might start to intersperse some of that in my continued study of Messiaen. So if you like this, subscribe. A lot of other stuff going on in the channel. I mentioned the Volca FM. Well, trying to do too many clever things at once. And also behind the screen here is my Eurorack, which I'm revisiting or re-engaging with because I've gotten a new piece of gear that I'm really excited about. Although I tell you what, as much as I love the significant but overall modest investment in Eurorack that I've made over the last 5 or 6 years, that Korg Volca FM, I freaking love it. Ugh. I'll feel a bit dumb if a $200 pocket synthesizer ends up being the most valuable synth that I have in the house. But there you go. Enough rambling. I'm heading out for a walk with my dogs in the rain, so I hope you all have an equally entertaining Saturday afternoon planned. Keep your wits about you.